Hey everyone, back with another tutorial. So today we will be looking at velocity changes in your mid bass or in your bass lines. Now, velocity changes in general are important, especially when you are thinking about driving elements or any elements which are consistent throughout a track. There are types of elements which are consistently moving and going throughout a track, and then there's other ones which are like stabs which come in and out of a track as well. But it's important when you have your elements which are consistent, like your mid bass, to have velocity changes in your notes. Now, why does that matter? Because in order to create interest over time, you want to use things like velocity changes, of course, with other techniques to bring interest to your track and also create space, because it's an element of that as well. So we'll just go through how I approach that within our tracks. This is a new one that I'm building. I thought it would be a good time to show it while I'm sort of constructing this track, and hopefully you guys can learn something. So I'm also just going to go through how sometimes I will change the notes ever so slightly depending on the part of the track as well. Sometimes that's important as well, just to make space. So everything can change in the track. So remember, it's not set in stone, but yeah, I'll definitely talk you through that. So I've got a mid bass here for this song. Let's just go ahead and play it, and then I'll show you what I've done. So this is kind of this track. Okay, so now one of the things that you want to also do in your tracks is, firstly, if you look at these notes here, let's just have a look at this bass lines. We'll just solo the group and we'll play that. Now, I'm just going to show you quickly the processing, and look, there's really nothing on this. I haven't even started to fully process this yet. I will make videos on processing in another point, but if you have a look, all I've got on the main bus is an EQ and a compressor. And on the other ones, I've literally just got EQs. Really nothing to it. So the question is, how is it not sounding static? What have I done to make it not so static? Now, I will make other videos on how I layer the mid basses, and I have already in the past, so you can see how the different sounds I've used. If you haven't seen those, go back and I talk about my sound selection and how I've approached each one. But essentially, that is definitely a big part of it. But a big part of it is also the velocity of these notes. So let's just look at this one, for example. Now, if I just open this MIDI roll for all of you Ableton users, this is basically the MIDI roll. You can see these are the notes. Now, this track is in D. It's in D. So okay. Now, if you look at these notes, the ones which are lighter, the velocity is down here. So let's have a look. The velocity is higher. And the ones that are darker, the velocity is lower. So now, the first thing I would say is you can see I variated the velocities on these notes. And what I do is I usually just construct it in one bar, and then I'll just extend it out and duplicate it. So that's enough. When you're looking at velocities on notes, yeah, I usually just construct it with a bar in mind, 4 beats, and then just copy it over. You can go a little bit more complex in certain scenarios, but yeah. As you can see here, the first thing that I've done is, this is a 3-note bass line. So it's quite a standard uplifting kind of mid bass. And the first note, of course, I have dipped it. Now, why is that? Because I generally always dip the first note because that is what clashes with the kick. The kick usually occupies the first two sections of this, of the beat. And then, you know, this part will occupy your sub bass. So normally what I do is I usually just duck the velocity of the first note. So it kind of, you're kind of using your side chain anyway in that part. Well, I don't even side chain my mid bass yet. You're kind of using your side chain in that part. Let's just go at it now. So you can see even without sidechain, this is actually really good. I didn't even realize I haven't sidechained it yet. Because I've put the velocity of the first note down, I've kind of already made a ducking effect to the mid bass without even utilizing the sidechain. Often, if you're just using your LFO tool or any other way you're going to sidechain things, you're often trying to use this as a way to kind of, I'll just put it here for now, kind of, you know, duck the first note anyway. Because if you look at this, this part of the where the ducking is happening is those first two sections of that beat, and then the second two sections of that beat is where the sound wants to come up anyway. So if you're doing that with your velocity changes, you're kind of doing that proactively. So yeah. So I've added sidechain now. Let's just see, and you know, just this just helps out a little bit and make sure the sidechain doesn't do all the work. So definitely do that, and I'll say that's a really good idea. Now, in terms of this one here, you can see I've actually completely removed the first one, just because I felt that it would give enough space. And just add some variation to the notes as well. But you'll notice almost always I'm dropping the first note where the kick is meant to be. You know, it's very important to move elements out away from the kick and not interfere with them. Now, another one that I've done is, of course, you can see if we look at these two, the velocities are the same. And if you look at these two, the velocities are the same as well. I do have another tutorial around how I think about my MIDI patterns in a mid bass, so definitely go back and watch those. But essentially, I do sometimes think like these two make one sound, and then like these two will make one sound because they're the same. And then they play in tandem, and how I layer those is a different one for sure. So, in terms of this, you can see the second one's up. So just always play around with your velocities because it will create a less static sound. Now, if I was to, let's say, I don't know, this is like even a straight runner. And it has some movement. If I was to just go back to just static, just everything static. You see how plain that sounds? You see how lifeless that sounds? So it's very important to make sure you have that movement. A lot of the time, people are wondering how they get movement out of their tracks, and they're not able to. But yeah, this is definitely one of those ways. So you have those variations, and that's how you do your mid-bass velocities. Now, in terms of, let's say, I'm still constructing the riffs here, but let's just say I was to try to create a riff. I haven't really figured it out just yet, but let's just have a look at. That's got some delay on it, but you can see it's sounds quite static even now. So, what if we were to play around with the velocities of these? You see that instantly changes the sound and makes it a lot better. So if I also, let's say, integrate into the track, I'll probably do it around here somewhere. You can see how it doesn't sound very good. It's not really in line with the beat. But the idea of this sound was to kind of put it with this one. So, but you can see how the velocity changes again make this a much more interesting sound. Whereas if I did not have them, they would be a little bit more plain. So that's it for this one, quite short. I just want to kind of bring that up. I will release more. Just make sure you use it, of course, not just across your mid basses. If you have any plucks or arps, or if you have any acids, it's important to use it there as well. Now, I'll quickly show you the sequencer, for example. This is a sequencer that I'm trying to have a little bit more variation. Now, in this ARP, you can see as well, this is an ARP. So if you don't know how to use an arpeggiator inside a synth, then definitely figure out how to use that, and I can do more videos on that later. But essentially, I've just got a straight note here, which is creating this rhythm. And you can see the arpeggiator playing here. Now, these are the velocities. Now, these velocities are all different, and that's what's creating that uniqueness of that sound as well. So it's very important to do that. Otherwise, you're going to get quite a static sound. And even if you use like phases and things like that, it's probably not going to do much. It will do much, but yeah, definitely this is like a very clean way to think about creating space, because every time you duck a note or you duck something here, it leaves space for something else. And bringing things in and out is definitely a good way to create interest. So if we play this again, all up. Whoops. Sorry. Very, very basic build up. So yeah, that's it for this one, guys. If there's anything else that you saw in this track that you wanted to know about, or you had any questions, I'm always looking for ideas around what I feel will work for videos. Definitely let me know. I will probably be doing more on like how to build your effects, and then your sort of your breaks and things like that. But this was just a super simple one. Sometimes I forget that people often also need reminders on the simple stuff. So yeah. All right, everyone. Have a good day and see you soon.